desperate times.
Clive, no!
Trust me. Burn your shield, remember?
Final Fantasy XVI is out, and it's exciting new territory for the storied RPG series. Yes, this is an unapologetic action RPG. No more active time battle, no more time-based movements. This is an action RPG where you control everything, for better or worse. Yes, no menus, just reflexes and thumb-based fatigue. You can check out my full review over at Engadget.com, but today I want to talk to you about the most divisive, most exciting part of this game. Yes, this is the easiest Final Fantasy yet, and I love it for it. Once upon a time in Final Fantasy, if you ever struggled against a tough monster or boss, you could normally battle against squishier monsters to gain more items, more experience, and more abilities. Your brain would go on autopilot as you kill tens or hundreds of enemies. In RPG terms, it's called grinding. Then you'd come back to that tricky enemy and pretty much steamroll them. And Final Fantasy has done this for decades. In Final Fantasy V, it was killer squirrels. In Final Fantasy XII, you were able to find enemies that were pretty much allergic to healing items and just rinse them for all of their loot. But in Final Fantasy XVI, while you can level up, fight more monsters, get more items, get more money, it's not going to help you much in a live action game where you'll still have to evade attacks and launch the appropriate magical counter. It's just not worth grinding in Final Fantasy XVI, and Square Enix's new approach to the difficulty curve opens up the game for die-hard fans who are looking for yet another turn-based fantasy. So right from the start you can pick between two different modes, story-centric and action-centric. These are the opening modes, there's no hard mode quite from the start. We'll get to that later as well. Story-centric is the easiest mode, and it will equip Clive, still a terrible name for a Final Fantasy hero, with lots of accessories that are arguably game-breaking. Even if you choose action mode from the start, you'll still gain access to these convenient cheat-level accessories, only you'll get them just before Clive's first combat mission. And you'll have to manually equip them. So let's dive into these accessories and split them into two groups. One is the easy, if practically plays itself category, starting with the Ring of Timely Evasion. This will automatically evade pretty much all attacks. Yeah, you could just leave Clive alone and the game will automatically ensure he stays alive for as long as you're away from the gamepad. Literally timely evasion every time. Next up you have the Ring of Timely Strikes, which is the attack equivalent here. It'll execute all kinds of combos and special attacks, including all your icon attacks, without you really having to press anything or swap between movesets and icons. Clive will do his thrusting stab attack, jump off enemies, or even unleash his ultimate powers, and all you have to do is hold down the square button. This is autopilot battling. Even watching this video, it's hard to kind of decide between me playing it myself and when the game's auto-playing with the Ring of Timely Strikes. So this is me when I'm beating up the goblin all for myself, while this video is me attacking one of those one-eyed flying eyeball things that Final Fantasy loves so much. Aside from the fact that I keep switching between the wrong icons waiting for my powerful attacks to cool down and be reusable again, there's not much difference between the two. Those two accessories paired together give you the ultimate offense and the ultimate defense, and you should sail through the entire game. Now let's move on to the other set of categories. These are a little bit more hands-off, a little bit more like training wheels for your bike rather than piloting a hovercraft. First up we have the Ring of Timely Focus. This slows time when you're about to be struck, meaning you'll get a timer bar like the active time cues in boss battles to time your R1 evasions, and hopefully follow them up with a counterattack. This was the accessory I used to get through tricky battles and make sure I finished the game before I wrote my review. Next up, the Ring of Timely Healing, which automatically uses your potions when low on health, which sounds good, but you'll only ever have a handful of potions. In short, once they're gone, they're gone. Then you have the Ring of Timely Assistance. This is a later accessory that automates your faithful dog companion Torgal's actions. I'll be honest, I forgot to give commands to Torgal during the battles, but I noticed a difference when Torgal was being automatically commanded. He'll regularly heal you as well as help stagger enemies. He's useful. Don't worry, that's the accessory chat over. What this all means is, regardless of what mode you pick at the start, you can customize the level of difficulty of combat to your liking to quite a surprising extent. You can also switch between that story and action-centric mode from the options menu at any time outside of the battles. This is what makes Final Fantasy XVI one of the most accessible and forgiving action RPGs I've ever played. While die-hard fans like me, hi, there's a cactuar right there on the shelf, if I can point to it in the right direction. Yep, just proof right there. Die-hard fans like me are always going to complete a Final Fantasy game, but for the rest of you and the rest of us, you might struggle as soon as you come up against a difficult fight or the idea of it being an action RPG right from the outset. This all should stop those complaints, or at least reduce them. It's not the first big gaming franchise to suddenly decide to remove skill hurdles. Street Fighter VI has recently introduced 3 new playstyles to its beat-em-ups. Classic, which is original flavor Street Fighter, as well as Modern, which is much easier, and Dynamic, which is a lot like equipping rings here in Final Fantasy XVI. And if you're looking for challenges, there is the hard mode called Final Fantasy Mode, which is only unlocked after you complete the game once. This means harder hitting enemies, a new level cap at 100, and more upgradable weapons to give as good as you get. Now, I've played roughly an hour of Final Fantasy Mode so far, and it's not as if the enemies are harder, the battles are just longer. Hopefully later enemies and rare monsters offer me a bit more of a challenge, or, dare I say it, I might just be getting good at games. If you're still not convinced, make sure to check out my full review over at Engadget.com. Like, subscribe, do all of that, and stay tuned for more gaming news from all of the team. Thanks for watching.
Oh!